Well, for more on this, I'm joined by political researcher Robert Graziani. Robert, this is a very damaging expose by Project Veritas because it confirms what a lot of us have been thinking for a very long time. There is a concerted effort to cover up real news, to propagate an agenda which fits a narrative to achieve political ends for particularly in America, but we're seeing it here in Australia too, isn't it?
Indeed. And good evening, Cory. Thanks for having me on your show. Yes, it's become very clear with this latest Project Veritas sting that the mainstream media in America is largely agenda media and narrative-forming media. It nudges the narrative and the mindsets of people towards a certain conclusion or along the path of a certain agenda.
And it doesn't care about the truth, though, mate. This is the whole thing. They can uncover the truth, such as it's black men attacking Asians, but they'll hide that until they can find the perfect story to blame white people on being racist to support Black Lives Matter. This is propaganda. It is not news. It is media manipulation. And I can't believe it hasn't been covered on any other network except this one and Fox News in America.
That's right. They all seem to cover for each other. Isn't it interesting how these revelations from Project Veritas are only being carried on Sky News Australia After Dark and also maybe in America on Fox News Channel, which is openly a rival of all the other news networks. Now, wouldn't it be interesting if some of the what we thought were rivals to CNN, i.e. MSNBC, ABC, CBS in America, actually used this story, which is newsworthy, to actually discredit their alleged rival, such that ratings go from CNN to these other networks, but they don't do it. So it gives the strong suggestion, if not evidence, that they're all actually colluded in the same narrative.
Yeah, and there is a suggestion of that because they're not trying to offer the or run the competitive tension, as you talk about saying we're a more reliable or better news service than our opponents. But it gets worse because you can extend this out. CNN are the preferred news feed for groups like organisations like Facebook. So in their algorithm, they give preference to CNN news items over others. And that would suggest that big tech is up to its neck in this as well, wouldn't it?
That's right. They're, in a way, another part of the network, if you like. CNN gets preference in big tech, whether it be Google, Twitter or Facebook. Such that their stories are able to be pumped out more readily than other stories that might be rivalrous and might be contesting of the facts, such that they actually get the hits and the feeds and the astroturfing effect more readily than the other possibly more real news networks. It all sort of paints the picture, though, that this, what we thought and once was a trusted fourth estate, is really becoming, in the Western world, not just in America, not just in Australia, but across the Atlantic as well, the fifth column. Or at least one of the most effective elements of the fifth column.
Yeah, which is the fifth columnists are the ones that work within to bring the society down or pursue the agenda. Before we come to Australia, I want to have a look at CNN's agenda here, which has been to troll Trump and to boost Biden, right? That was very clear to those political observers who understand the system. But here are a few recent examples. We've got some grabs.
When you're asking me if I was run down, I thought you were referring to how I felt during the Trump era. No, I think that, listen, I think we're all dealing with some post-Trump stress disorder.
He still has the support of a majority of black voters. And I think that for President Trump, it's a hard argument to make because the president has spent much of this summer defending Confederate statues, defending the Confederate flag, calling Black Lives Matter a symbol of hate, doing all of these things that really erode his own credibility on issues of race.
Is this just the way it is now? Biden is on his own, getting things done, and the GOP is talking about things that are irrelevant?
It's just propaganda, Robert, but we're seeing the same thing here in Australia, aren't we? I mean, the Prime Minister apparently is to blame for the missteps in Parliament House, for everything that's gone wrong, for talking to his wife, for being empathetic about particular things. And it's been like a mugging, a group mugging by the ABC and Nine Media to push out a Conservative Prime Minister and install a lefty government. Are we going to see the last year in the States repeated here in the next 12 or 15 months, do you think?
It looks like the blueprint's being rolled out right across the West, including Australia. And it looks like nearly all the focus is on the Morrison government, and probably will be so for the next year, probably trying to put him and his government on effectively a rolling pin such that he's never stable, he's never foot steady or anything like that. Just constant hit after constant hit, such that he can never get out a positive message. And by the time May 2022 comes around, and whatever result has been delivered in the election, then they'll have a full year to work on the New South Wales Berejiklian government.
Yeah, because it's a coast-to-coast red tinge. That's what I suspect many in the media are looking for. And I've got to tell you, this is why I think Sky is so important to the media landscape. We have hard news all day, and which is fantastic, but then we have unashamedly opinion in the evening. And I don't think there's anything wrong with having strong opinions. I think if people want to disagree with me, that's all good. They can come on the show, and I'm happy to have the debate and discussion about it. But it's my view. I'm presenting the news from my perspective. I'm not trying to represent that. I'm presenting, the straight up and down thing. And this is what we don't see. The news, the most popular news service, I reckon, in the country is on one of the commercial networks in Australia. You've got a bunch of comedians there who refuse to do live interviews, and they cut all the stuff out that doesn't suit them. When any time you correct them for their unhinged ravings, they cut it all out. So how can we trust anything on TV?
That's right. We've just got to keep getting the message out. When examples they're sprung with either stings or just through maybe even grassroots journalism and reporting. For example, CBS in America had some decent stings against them. Proven reporting of, say, simulations that were actually then reported and painted as actual real-life examples. That was CBS, and guess who owns Channel 10 here in Australia? CBS. And what's one of their flagship propaganda outlets? The Project, Channel 10, which is basically run by run by comedians.
Yeah, well, that was actually the show I was referencing. It's I refused to go on there unless it was live when I was a politician, and strangely, I was never allowed to do it. It was really, it kind of identified the agenda. But the problem we've got now is there is so little credible news on commercial television. Not everyone has access to Foxtel and to Sky News. There's a lot of misinformation on the internet, but the true stuff out there is getting censored as well by technology, big tech. Project Veritas itself has been silenced, and you can't share some of their material now. So it is like a giant conspiracy come true, or proven true, isn't it?
Well, it looks like the so-called conspiracy theory is now becoming conspiracy fact. It's almost undeniable now, and really, if you're blind to it, then you just don't want to see it. For whatever reason, maybe you got certain skin in the game, or you just don't want your whole world view to be shown to be pretty well fake, and that does, tax the senses and the mind a little bit.
Yeah. Robert Graziani, I always appreciate your insights. You're quick off the mark on this stuff. You always see it ahead of the curve, and I know our viewers really enjoy you sharing your views with us. So thanks for your time tonight. I appreciate it.
Cheers, Cory. Thank you.